Hoyoverse is playing the long game. What is this?
Investing in victory means playing the long game. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Wait a minute. Didn't Topaz say that?
You can't just use Giguk's opening like that. I know it's not his song, but you're just doing it the same way.
What's the #1 goal of any game company? Depending
Playing
on
some
who
Blue
you
Archive
ask,
music
the answer may be
in
different.
the back.
A developer might say it's to create the best game they can, while on the other hand,
The only thing that matters to companies is money. Let's be honest. That's the only thing that matters.
a consumer might say that the company just wants to make as much money as possible, depending on how they feel about the game itself. If you're one of the 2 people left on the planet that still think any of these companies have goodwill, maybe you'd say it's a mix of both. Gacha games, though, they're different because they actually have 3 goals,
Hey, that's 100
all of
bits,
which are
Margis.
connected and all of which are of equal importance. Let's go in order here and talk about step 1. The first goal of a gacha game is to get you in the door. There's a variety of ways they can go about doing this, especially in the current post-Genshin gacha landscape.
#1 way to make people get in the door is hentai. Right then and there, man. You know how many people probably played Azur Lane because of that, or FGL? Let's be honest.
Some might try to just go with the basics and offer a really compelling story. Some might try to sell you unique
Good old
gameplay
Olympus.
or cool animations, and some might try to get your attention with lore. Others might go a different route and shower you with early game rewards, and this is what Hoyoverse does. When you look at any of the 3 current major Hoyo titles, the new player experience for them is amazing. No matter where you look, you're getting rewards thrown at you left and right from both the mail, the content offered, and different incentives to get you to keep playing. In Genshin, you have tons of regions to explore, hundreds of quests to do, thousands of achievements to collect, in-game to tackle, events to get caught up in, and so much more.
Game's
While
been
Honkai Star Rail
around
is
for so
newer
long
and
now.
technically has less overall content, it takes that early game generosity further by offering incentives for doing the content. For example, by giving rewards to players like the guaranteed 5-star unit on the beginner warp and bonus rewards.
I think it's not only that, but it's also so easy to get into Hoyoverse's gacha games because they look like way more of a game. When you compare this to like most other gacha games, bro, it looks like some crappy phone piece of garbage. Hoyoverse's games, they look like, oh, this is like a full AAA game, right?
For example, by giving rewards to players like the guaranteed 5-star unit on the beginner warp and bonus rolls at specific account level thresholds. On top of that, old events are permanently available for you to complete at any time, and you can get most of the rewards from them. Zenless Zone Zero is even newer than Star Rail is, yet it still has multiple story chapters to clear, both easy and hard content to do, an absolutely massive amount of events, plus a
Yeah, but the reason why ZZZ can't really break into as much of a mainstream thing is because there's already 2 good ones, and also I think this genre of game just doesn't do as well, it seems like, as some of the others. That's how it feels, at least.
same quality of life that HSR brought with the beginner banner and permanent events. In all 3 of these titles, there's hundreds upon hundreds of roles available, all right at your fingertips, just waiting for you to collect. You can get multiple of the highest rarity units from the
You can't get Miyabi right now, though. May as well uninstall.
That is, assuming you're willing to put in the time to play
Can't
through
get
all of
Miyabi,
it,
I'm
or,
out.
you know, you could just get your account managers to do it for you. That's not even mentioning that both HSR and Genshin had selectors within the last year to pick a standard banner unit from. So, all that seems pretty generous, right? Why is the company's goal to just get you in the door, or in other words, what's the reason behind all the generosity? Well, if you remember, I said they actually have 3 goals that are all connected, and the why is the second goal that Hoyoverse has.
Like, why play?
Once you're in the door, what comes next? Well, it's getting you to stay. Like, imagine you're a newish player in a Hoyo game. You've gone through the story and the exploration content available. You've taken all the generous gifts that Hoyo gives you as you've been building out your account.
Why stay? What is the reason to stay? Well, because you enjoy the game, right? Like, what else could it really be? I guess you want to find out the next part of the story. I guess you want to upgrade some of your characters. I guess they have a bunch of FOMO pulls and little cosmetic things and other stuff like that. I guess that would be the why. Like, what? That's why play.
And you're finally ready to take on the more difficult content the game has to offer. This is where you'd probably start looking at endgame and then seeing how you can clear it.
There's no
endgame. Do you think you
though.
understand the game well enough to attempt it? Do you have the characters you think you need? Are they built well enough? And if so, how much of it can you get through? Well, once you have the answers to all that and just, start trying, you'll undoubtedly be able to clear some of it. That is, until you hit the wall. This is the wall that you'll reach at some point in every gacha you play, but especially so in Hoyoverse games. Your units won't be leveled high enough, or you didn't invest enough in your gear, or maybe you got the wrong characters and don't have what you need to make any progress. This is where the third goal that Hoyoverse has comes into play. By this
Okay, I will say this though. He says that the why is this wall that you reach. I kind of disagree with that, because the average player doesn't even get to that. Why? You know what I mean? The average player is fully invested in the game without ever even getting to the point where they're doing that endgame content. The majority of players don't do endgame at all in these gachas. So then what is their why? I think their why would more be the story, the characters. In the case of like Genshin Impact, it would be the exploration. I don't know. Maybe that's a big reason why ZZZ isn't as popular, is it doesn't really have that exploration stuff, and it's not turn-based, and people would want one or the other, maybe? I don't know, I wonder what it is. The community, I do think community is probably a big part of it too, I agree. Yeah, I think a huge part might be that.
Point in your account's progress, you've most likely already invested enough
the why is
time to
different
clear
for a
the
lot of
main
people.
content, and you've also probably started thinking about how to clear the more difficult stuff, so you've actually already fallen right into Hoyo's hands. See, their third goal is actually very simple, is to create a wall in the game or a threshold that you can't cross at the current moment in time, and then it's to figure out how to get you across that threshold. Or in short, yacht. Wait.
Yeah, bro.
The idea behind Gyat is that Hoyo wants to get you to a point where you're willing to spend something. Like, if you can't clear the content that you want to clear, there's basically 3 roads in front of you. The first path is pretty simple. It takes you down the line where you stop playing the game, because after all, if you can't clear any content, then why would you bother? And obviously, Hoyo wants to avoid you taking that path at all costs. So, Hoyo adds incentives for players to actually want to clear the content, and they do it by offering a chunk of the rewards you get per patch for participating in it. For example, in the current 5.4 Genshin patch, a free-to-play player can get around 60 rolls for doing every single bit of content in the patch. Of those 60 rolls, 15 of them come from full clearing both of the endgames that are available.
I mean, that makes sense.
If 25%
so a lot of players
your rolls
won't
come
get
from
that.
clearing content, then you know that players have a very, very large incentive to actually attempt to do it.
I will say this though, it's really easy to get most of those rewards. Just because you can't do, let's say, the last 3 stages, like you basically lose out on almost nothing from that, right?
The thing to note with these endgame content rotations is that they follow a strict schedule. What this means is that in every patch, there's essentially an allocated amount of pulls set for the story, events, and other stuff like that, whereas you'll always get roughly the same amount of pull currency from endgame content.
It makes you wonder why they make characters so broken in HSR if the majority don't care about the meta and endgame. I think the reason is because those players won't care about the power creep, but then players that do will pull the characters. That's what I think. It makes it so every character is more exciting for the players that don't care, I think. Maybe.
Assuming you can clear it. This means that the actual amount of pulls that you're intended to get in the 5.4 patch is 45 and not 60, which makes those extra 15 all the more important. After all, 45 pulls is just a little bit over half of what you need to hit something in a 5-star. Very sneaky, Hoyo. So all that brings us to path 2, which is spending your time. If you can't clear now, well, just log in every day and do your dailies, spend your resin, do all the events, upgrade your gear, and do everything else that comes with these kinds of games.
Yep.
If you commit your life to the game, you'll certainly be able to clear in the future. Hoyo
By the way, it
demands a
feels like an
significant
MMO.
amount of effort from you to get
you
all
gotta
the
keep doing
rewards that they
that.
dangle
Spend
in
so
front
much
of you.
time.
The worst thing is that it feels like you barely have enough time to complete everything. In Genshin, events are too short. For example, the Lantern Rite celebrations only lasted for 2 weeks, and in ZZ
I'm gonna be real, if you can't do it in 2 weeks, I feel like that's a you issue. Like, I don't know, man. And I know someone's gonna say, oh, but that's because you're a content creator, so like, bro, come on, gacha game events do not take that long, right? They ain't that hard. 2 weeks, that's 2 whole weekends, right? Look, if you're so busy that you can't do that event, you probably should just not play gachas. I'm gonna be real, that means you have a good life. Why are you even playing a gacha at that point, man?
DZ, we get so many events that it can honestly kind of get a little overwhelming. I guess there's never a lot going on in
depends
HSR,
how many gachas you're juggling.
That's a whole different issue. Honestly, there's usually enough stuff going on that it feels like Hoyo would do anything to keep us from cheating on them with other games, except for actually treating their players well. And this brings us to path 3, where it gets even more insidious, because this is the route where you spend money. If you don't have enough gear or characters leveled to clear right now, well, there's this funny little button you can press to refresh your daily stamina and farm more. Don't have the right units to be able to clear, like maybe you're missing a support for your DPS or vice versa. Well, Hoyo's gonna make absolutely sure that the wish button will be on your screen at all points during gameplay, and they'll also ensure that the shop button is available every single time you open the wish screen. You know, just in case.
It is 100% predatory, no question about that, but also, I don't know. If that's how you enjoy the game, by spending money to overcome an issue, hey, that's up to you.
So you've gone down path 2 or 3 and now you're in. You've fallen for their trap and you're across the threshold of no return. You've invested your time or your money, so you should get something out of it, right? Well, unfortunately, you got hooked, line and
sinker. True. At least they don't have pop-ups going up going, 5,000% value. Oh, you have 10 minutes, 500 million% value. Oh my God. You know the One Punch Man gacha game? It has a pack where you get a random 5-star and it says it's 90% off. And it's normally $1,000. Instead, it's only 100 to get a random 5-star. Like, oh, brother, what? Who would pay $1,000? You're supposed to play to have fun? Exactly. That is the most important thing. However, feels like most people don't.
And now you're in it for the long haul. You just don't realize it yet. At this point, all of your free resources are gone and dried up, apart from what they ever so generously give you each patch. But you can be damn sure that they'll make it seem like you're getting a whole lot
Always
more.
Create the problem and sell the solution, man.
One tactic the companies use to not only get players in the door, but also to increase potential earnings is by going hard on marketing. Sensor Tower reported that between quarter 2 of 2023 and quarter 1 of 2024,
I didn't know you could
which
see this.
Coincidentally was the first year of Honkai Star's release, Hoyoverse invested nearly $300 million into digital marketing for their games, which was—
Wait, between what dates? Hold on. Oh. I mean, I'm gonna be real, that's not even that crazy to me. It's nearly a year, I mean, it's, you know, 3/4 of a year of advertisement. I'm not even surprised.
3 in quarter 1 of 2024, which coincidentally was the first year of Honkai Star's release, Hoyoverse invested nearly $300 million into digital marketing for their games, which was over a 487% jump compared to their previous year where they spent less than $100 million advertising.
You know, people always say that Mihoyo spends so much money advertising, but guys, are you telling me that the previous year they made more in like a single month from Genshin than they even spent the whole year on advertisement? Bro, that means in like, dude, if Mihoyo gets paid 2 months of Genshin revenue, they literally now have all the money they need for all the advertisement and all of the funding for all of their employees. That's basically 2 months, and that means they get 10 months of profit. That's insanity.
Genshin in their previous titles.
Like
they
what?
advertise their games everywhere.
They're in the black
They're on
after
media
2
sites
months,
like YouTube,
dude.
Twitch, Bilibili, and so on. Like, if you're watching gaming-related videos without an ad blocker, you can't go more than a few videos without seeing an ad for at least one of their games. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the Natasha ad video at least once while browsing around, right?
I'm Natasha, an underworld doctor.
This stupid-ass ad. Everyone has seen this who doesn't have an ad blocker or something on YouTube on phone. Everyone has seen this. Everybody. When Honkai Star Rail first came out, this ad was every ad. This was the only ad you would get on your phone from YouTube, was this stupid ad. And by the way, did this work? I'm gonna be real, this is like the worst ad ever. It just says, I'm Natasha, an underworld doctor. And you're like, okay. You know, I've seen a Genshin ad where all it had was a character, they just are walking and then they jump off a cliff and open the wings and they glide for like 2 seconds and then it just says Genshin Impact. And I was like, does that work? Like, does this kind of advertising work? I don't know. Like, I don't get it. Maybe it does. It must. It must work.
There's also sponsored videos, streams, and events where they go out of their way to show new people the game and try to encourage them to play it themselves. Like ZZZ sponsored EVO, and even more crazy, HSR sponsored the broadcast of the Olympics.
Yeah, that was
NBC.
insane.
But it's not just digital marketing, because they also do a lot of events to try and build their community. For example, they host events like Hoyoverse, and they do annual streams for both regular patches.
Okay, something that I don't know if he's going to talk about, but I hope they do. Bro. The most insane advertisement of all time is when they do this. They go, hey guys, 20 lucky winners are gonna get 1,000 Stellar Jades. All you have to do is retweet and like this post. Bro, they just got like $20 million of advertisement out of giving away like nothing, right? Out of giving away 20,000 Stellar Jade, Monopoly money, something that doesn't even exist or have real value. Like, it's crazy how powerful that is, being able to do that. You're literally creating advertisement out of thin air. That's so strong, dude.
As well as the bigger events that are themed after the new region for patch cycle
they did
changes with their
this.
major games. On top of all of that, they do concerts, collabs, pop-up events. They're extremely active on various social media sites like Twitter and the like.
Where they're everywhere. Your whole life is inundated with it.
Anime NYC, Gamescom, the Game Awards, the Tokyo Game Show, and a ton of others. Outside of IRL marketing, another point that's very important to note here is that Hoyo markets the characters they release as content for
you're right. You're totally right. Also, it's like, we'll give $1,000 away to the winner of this art competition. Let's say it's $10,000. That's still nothing. We'll give $10,000 away to the winner of this art competition. By the way, we own all art submitted to this. So then, you know, like, that shit's so easy, dude. You get so much marketing and you get to show all this stuff off and you now own it. And, you know, someone gets 10,000 bucks, they're happy about that, they win. But like, man, is that good. They never did 10,000. That's just a random example.
Effective games. There's a reason that almost every time a new character is released, the ads for the game get updated to reflect that. They want you to always be seeing the new stuff because if it gets you excited to log in, then that's a +1 on their player retention
smart
count.
advertisement.
Even if you're someone that stopped playing at some point, all it may take is one super hot character and then you're right back into their clutches again.
That's true. The amount of people even in my chat that will be like, man, I guess I'm gonna finally come back to this game because they see a character they like. So many people do that. Because they're like, well, you know, I've already put time into the game, so I guess I can just go back and get that character, right? Happens all the time. Oh, I went back to go pull the Herda. I mean, I was just kind of waiting to go back to that game for 3.0, but like I went back when the Herda came out, right? And there's lots of people who haven't even played some of these games that go to start playing it because they see a character they really like. They're like, well, I guess it's fun. They'll ask, hey, is now a good time to start X or Y game? Or no, better yet, they love to say, is it too late to play? They love saying that.
Pretty big play here as well. Remember that every time a character's on banner and pullable, they're only there for a limited time. When they're gone until whenever Hoyo decides it's time to pull them out of the basement.
Everything's
again.
limited,
This can result in a
all the
wait
way back
for a
from
character
FGO,
being
man,
upwards of close to 2 years. Looking at you, Shenhe. Besides feeling like you've missed out, it basically means that you won't have a whole lot to do if you don't end up getting any characters in the patch you're playing, especially if there's no explorable content to hold you over. And all this does is further incentivize players to go for things that they might not necessarily.
You know, I will say, I think this is damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. This is actually one situation where I won't blame Hoyoverse. So if you take too long to bring back a character, let's say Shenhe, then people go like, dude, this is such a load of crap, what the hell? But then, if you have the multi-banner system like Honkai Star Rail, people go, wow, they're so greedy, this sucks, you know what I mean? That's actually a situation where no matter what you do, you can't please people. Personally, I'm actually okay with them running like 8 banners at the same time of all these older characters. I'm actually okay with that, because that means it's gonna rotate so quickly, so if you don't pull them now, you're like, you know, they'll come back, it's whatever. Personally, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that's an issue, really, if you're just rerunning a bunch of old banners. If you have too many new banners, that's messed up. But if it's just old banners, then it rotates so quickly that like, oh, I'll miss it this time, but you know, in a couple months, they're probably gonna be back. I think that's totally cool, personally. Better than waiting years.
This all allows Hoyo to actually take a pretty lazy approach to the actual content they release for their game, because if the character is the content, then what incentive does Hoyo have to actually create anything aside from that? I mean, hell, I know firsthand a few people that log into ZZZ on a daily basis just to walk around as their favorite character in that game. And Hoyo knows this.
I can't believe I'm saying this, of all people, but get a life. I can't believe I'm saying that, but like, man, you log into the gacha to just walk around a little bit and then that's it, you just log out. Like, bro, what are you even doing at that point? Like, you're not even doing anything?
They heavily market their characters
says
through
me,
different
bro.
trailers and teasers, which just promotes
me,
the
of all
idea that you
people.
can get invested in the characters
know.
themselves, rather than whatever content and story you have available to actually play with them. While there might not always be something exciting going on in the game, they'll always make it seem like there's something to get invested into.
Why should it look way better like this?
If it's not the current character, it's the next. If it's not one game, it's another. And this is all part of their trap. They want you to always be thinking about their games, because once you're in,
you're here forever.
Creating a sense of loyalty. Oh boy, this is the good one.
To explain, let me walk you through a scenario from my own life. It might seem unrelated, but just trust me.
Okay.
All the way back in 2014 when I built my first gaming computer, my friend and I decided to go with a Corsair power supply for it, and I've even still got...
Huge mistake, man. I've bought so many Corsair products, bro, they keep breaking.
the email of that. That power supply did end up having issues when I first got it, but not only did Corsair give me a replacement, they also gave me an upgrade to the 850i from the 750 that I previously had. And believe it or not, that upgraded power supply is still going strong in my current computer over 11 years later.
That's good.
So you might be wondering why I'm talking about old computers and power supplies. Well, it's because as a result of this scenario, I now recommend Corsair equipment as a whole to friends, to family, and others who I built PCs for in the past.
I like Corsair. I do like them, but at the same time, I've also never had so many defective parts. I don't know why. Like, maybe I just got unlucky, but like, I don't know.
As a result of the good
customer
interaction
service,
I've had with
though.
Corsair customer support and the power supply that has lasted me over 11 years, I have some trust in their parts and some faith that their company will do right by me as a consumer. Whenever I buy PC parts now, I'm always on the lookout for Corsair parts first, because I developed a sense of loyalty over time towards their products before any others. How this relates to Hoyo is that every single thing Hoyo does is under the motive of them creating that same sense of loyalty. They want us as the players to think positively of them, and they do this through everything discussed so far. Being generous early on into our playthroughs, giving out freebies like
Dude, the fact that so many people think that the generosity of some of these companies is like actual generosity out of the goodness of their heart is really, really mind-blowing to me. So many people fall for this kind of stuff. They'll be like, wow, they did this concert thing. They really care about the fans. Brother, like, people get sponsored to watch that kind of shit. Why do you think? Because it's advertisement. Duh. Not everything is out of the goodness of their heart. They're not a charity organization, guys. Why do you think that Wuthering Waves gave Yao out for free in 1.2? Do you think they did that because they're like, we love you? They did it because 1.2 was a trash ass patch. It was the worst patch of the entire game. It was really bad. It was a bad patch and it lasted a long time. And 2, because, you know, the game had like a bit of a rough launch. Them giving the selector as compensation does not equal generosity either, right?
Banner characters and
a lot of this is the same,
of Dr.
right?
Ratio that HSR got are all examples of them trying to
You were
get
gonna quit if they didn't give
them. And that's not even mentioning the asinine amount of marketing that they do, so their products are always on your mind.
Everything's marketing.
The more positively you feel about them, the more likely you are to get interested whenever they do different things like events or launch new games like HSR and ZZZ.
It's also an infinite loop, because once you're in, then you get involved with community, and once you're in the community, that's when they have you for life. That's when they grip you by the balls right there. Because once you're in that community, it's an infinite loop of talking with other people or getting excited over things, and then you're really involved, right? That's how it works. There's plenty of instances of this. You can look at any of the Mihoyo communities, hell, even Epic 7. That was a game that community was so important for players, and like their guilds that they would play with and communicate with and talk with and have fun and share their feelings about the game. When you don't have that sense of community in a game, it actually really hurts the replayability of it. A lot of people keep playing games because of the community aspect.
What this does is it brings you into their
that
ecosystem.
Adds more loyalty.
Just like how I use and recommend Corsair computer parts, someone that likes Hoyo games will be just as likely to do the same with Hoyo products. For example, a lot of people tried HSR simply because it was a Hoyoverse game.
True.
While Hoyo undoubtedly spent an absolute ton of money on marketing on top of building that loyalty from their older games like Genshin, there's no denying that a good chunk of the success the game had is from people that already wanted more from Hoyo. Something to keep in mind here though is that in comparison to
it was a high quality
Corsair, the Hoyoverse ecosystem isn't all roses, because you have to look at the context surrounding it. Like, Corsair gaining a loyal customer by having good customer support isn't something particularly insidious. They just wanted me to think of them first when I bought computer parts going forward. On the other hand, Hoyo's goal isn't just to get you in the door, it's to keep you gambling and spending more and more and more every
that's not
single
inherently
time you
evil
play
though,
one of their games. Like, for example, if you
building
buy merch of
loyalty
your
is
favorite
not
Genshin
evil.
character at an event, is it a good product? Sure, the quality is probably really nice, and you wouldn't have gotten it if you didn't want it, right? But it only serves the purpose of getting you more invested into whatever character you bought that merch of, and therefore Hoyo as a whole. Whenever you see that merch at home, you'll always be reminded of where it comes from. So what happens the next time that character's on Right Up in your...
What often happens for me when I have merchandise and that kind of stuff is I go, I remember when that was good. Oh well. That often happens to me when I see that kind of merch stuff though, is I don't go like, oh boy, I love this game, time to spend more money. It's usually like, ah, man, those are the good old days. Shame what happened to it.
Your favorite gacha game. Seeing that merch every single day would probably incentivize you to roll for more copies, or maybe you'll get their weapon if you don't already have it. After all, they're your favorite, right? Maybe you're not a merch person and you're just a hardcore gacha gamer, always on the lookout for the new hot game. If you're already playing Genshin and Hoyo releases the new hot game Honkai Star Rail, you're probably going to start playing that one too. Now, you're not only in the Genshin space, but the Star Rail one as well. There's more chances to find characters you like, more stories to get invested in,
more loyalty,
generous
you're more
content
invested
to
with the
play
company
since the
now.
game has just started, and most importantly for Hoyo, more chances for you as the consumer to pull out your wallet and swipe just a little bit to get you started. So
it's
now
better
we're at the
before it
part
gets
where I get
worse,
to tell you why this is all a problem. You know, apart from the obvious point of saying it's a gacha, of course it's a problem. You might have read the title of this part of the video and been a little bit confused because the traditional way that saying goes is actually the opposite. With Hoyo games though, it's just not like that. See, something Hoyo's been doing for years now is always making it seem like the next thing is going to be better than what we have now, even when that isn't always the case. I mean, that's all the marketing that we've been talking about. To be at least a little bit fair here, they do actually have patches in their games where it seems like things are good. But something worth noting here is that those good things come with a cost. First, we can take a look at a specific example from one of their games, and the easiest one to bring up is Genshin. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at the pull tracker for Genshin, but there's two patterns.
Poll tracker for Genshin. Wow, 5.0 gave a lot more polls than anything else. Is that because they knew that it wasn't going to do as well as Fontaine? Wait, Fontaine only gave 88? And the patch after gave 100? Why? Holy crap. 2.6 gave this much, while 3.0 only gave that one? That's weird. It's usually you're not getting tons of polls from the actual version update, except Natland. That is the only time.
And they're related to specific times of the year.
Huh.
Did you notice it? If you didn't, it's the specific patches that offer a lot of rewards, with the following patches having a big drop-off, and here's the points where that happens.
Yeah.
Don't recognize anything special about those
Which
patches?
averages it
Well,
out, I'm
those
assuming?
are both the Chinese New Year patches as well as the anniversary patches. Both of these are meant to be a time where you get to celebrate, right?
that's
Like
why.
another year has passed and
Chinese
the game is
New
still
Year.
going strong. So us as players deserve to be showered with rewards and have a great time. To be fair to Hoyo, it generally is a great time. We get a lot of rewards as big events going on IRL and a ton of other things. But then the end of the patch happens. Now,
Then you get
going into
nothing
the
on the
next
next
patch,
one?
what are we greeted with? A hell of a lot less rewards. Seems weird,
just
right?
averages out to be the same
not
as
really
everything
if you
else?
think about it in terms of balancing. Hoyo's goal isn't actually to reward us at these times of the year, it's just to make it seem like they are. If we get anything extra, they'll be sure to withhold that from the next patch's rewards to keep the...
To be fair, isn't this kind of every single gacha ever made, to be fair? Is basically, hey, we're having this big event, we're giving everyone, 15 free polls on login, you get this free thing, you get all this kind of stuff. They start advertising everywhere, even when it's not an anniversary, let's say a collab or something too. And they go like, dude, look at all this crazy stuff, it's gonna be absolutely insane. Everyone goes in, they use their 15 free polls, they spend money because there's special packs maybe, or, there's some unit they really want, like all that kind of stuff, right? That happens basically every time, and then the next patch feels way drier usually compared to that one. I do think that it's kind of just, that's most games to be fair, right? We gave 100 polls in 2.1. That makes sense. I'm assuming that's a good amount of polls compared to previous, just because like 2.0, well, you didn't need the polls to be invested, but in 2.1, you needed the polls to get hype, right?
average the same. If we get 100 pulls on an anniversary patch and only 50 the next, then the average amount of pulls between the two patches is actually only 75. Doesn't seem too generous now, don't you think? Looking past just the rewards, we can look at the other things like quality of life and also the recently announced potential buffs for characters in HSR.
Bro, don't even mention quality of life, dude. They wouldn't know quality of life if it hit them in the head, dude. I don't even know, man. People have suggested quality of life stuff from like literally 1.0, just like common sense things of anyone who plays the game would ask for, and then they just stonewall you. Like, dude, come on, man.
These are things that Hoyo can do at any time, but they hold it above our heads like a cookie jar while saying, no, not until I say.
They don't do anything, and then the moment they do, people go like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Whoa, they care about us so much. It's like they literally hate your ass, dude. This annoys me in every game, by the way. It's not just Hoyoverse. This is any game I ever play where there is basic quality of life stuff where you're just like, this is frustrating. Why did they even implement this? And if it doesn't get fixed for a long time, I'm pissed about it. And when it finally gets fixed, I'm not like, oh my god, this is so great. Like, thank you. I'm just like, what the hell took you so long? And maybe that sounds like a really cynical way of looking at it, but it's the most logical way of looking at that. It's like, you could have done this at any time. Because most quality of life stuff is not complex. It's not something where it's like, we got to overhaul all these systems and oh my god, it's going to take so much work and time. Like usually it's not like an insane thing that people want quality of life for. Like for instance, one of the biggest quality of lives people wanted in Genshin is like, why do we only get to farm certain domains on certain days? Why isn't it just open all the time? And it's not like, bro, you're really asking us to do this? It's gonna take Joe 10 months to work on that. Are you kidding me? Do you know how hard that is to open up all domains at once? I mean, this is insane. We can't do this. It's not like it's a hard thing, right? Like it's basic stuff people are asking for most of the time. Like, come on.
You can have it. Even on the rare occasions that we do get those things, there's always something at play that makes it not as simple as it seems. Like for the buffing system in HSR, don't get me wrong, I can't help but be at least a little bit excited by the prospect of being able to use my old characters
It's
again.
exciting, but I'm also
with Hoyo,
skeptical.
though, this all comes with a caveat of context. Every character released in that game is almost always guaranteed to be stronger than the last one is.
It took literally the whole fan base going, what the hell is up with this? Old characters suck, new characters are OP. It took all of that for them to go, hey guys, I think we're gonna start buffing characters starting in like 2 or 3 patches. Would you guys like that? And then people were like, yeah, they listened. Bro, it only took the whole community basically trashing them for them to start doing something that is like, duh, of course everyone wants that, right? Like, they just put the absolute lowest expectations, minimal effort, and that's something so frustrating. And this is frustrating to me for any game. There's so many games that do this. Yeah, Riot Games recently had that with the Hextech chest. People complained, they're like, oh, we're bringing back the Hextech chest. But you know what happened with Riot Games? When they brought back the Hextech chest, people didn't go, oh man, we love you, Riot. You guys care so much. People were like, yeah, you better do that. You better do that or I'm done with your ass. Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, drag your sorry ass back here with that Hextech chest. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's how people treated that, dude. When Riot Games did that, they're not like, oh man, we love you. They're like, yeah, that's what I thought, huh? Huh? Yeah, try that again, right? Like, that's how everyone felt in that, dude. That's how everybody felt in, like, for League of Legends. They're like, yeah, that's what I thought. You little punk ass. Don't ever try that again, you know? Like, they treated them exactly like how they could, like a damn whipped dog, right? That's how it should be. But for some reason, when it comes to any gacha, people seem to put them on a higher pedestal for some weird reason, right? But the moment it's something like that, yeah, people are so toxic in League of Legends that they also treat the company like that, which, hey, maybe that's a little bit better in a weird way.
So for example, if their character Blade gets buffed whenever they implement this system, it's only a matter of time before he becomes a dumpster tier character again as stronger and stronger characters are released after him.
That's not necessarily true. There's a rumor that they were doing a skin for Seela and in the same patch she would get a buff. Well, that could be true as well. Maybe it wasn't the fans that caused characters to get buffed. Maybe what they decided to do is let's power creep every single character because we know we're going to buff some characters later down the line so we can sell these, make a bunch of money, and then we can start buffing and making skins and make money there. Maybe that's the strat. I don't know.
Unless
Could
they
be
actually
too.
implement the system properly, this quality feature really
no
isn't
idea.
all that impressive. For more general quality of life stuff, it can take years to implement, and even if we do get it, it's always done with a Hoyoverse twist. I mean, how long have we been asking for gear loadouts in Hoyo games, only to get these awful auto-equip systems instead?
I don't even know how that
How long have we
works.
been asking to farm stuff like talent books and weapon materials in Genshin,
not
only for them to
available.
put out a survey asking us if that's something that
How satisfied are you with the time limit on acquiring talent level material? Why would anyone say satisfied? Like, why? why would you be like, yeah, you know what? It's really great that I can't farm this when I want to. No, I want to be on your time limit. Like, who would say that, bro? Like, what?
we really want. Hell,
Those
even
are
Wuthering
rage
Waves
bait,
added
dude.
loadouts recently. Talk about Genshin could never. These are tactics that Hoyo pulls across all of their games, from big events and anniversaries to
Absolute
quality
minimum.
of life. But it doesn't stop there, because they also do this when they release new games. Remember, they've built an ecosystem that we're all trapped in. So what this means is that not only do we get screwed by the things previously mentioned, we also get screwed whenever they want to launch their next title. And
You know, I really like that it uses the word ecosystem there, because I think that's exactly what it is. It's an ecosystem that people live in, and they've never experienced another ecosystem. They've never seen any of the other ones, so they only expect it at the same level that they've been getting it the entire time in that ecosystem. Like, that is the world that they understand of a lot of these, like, games with gacha systems. Once you go out of that, you start to really get a new perspective and realize that kind of thing, but everyone who's trapped in that ecosystem, well, That's all that they are really gonna know. And Hoyoverse, I mean, not just them, let's be honest. Look, I know this video is about Hoyoverse, but let's be honest, this can be applied to many gachas. They do the absolute bare minimum, the lowest of the low, and that's all the players' expectations are. And when people's expectations are tempered to be the absolute lowest, then if you do anything slightly above that, people praise you and think that it's an amazing thing, right? This is the same with like Fake Grand Order, right? Like they do the absolute lowest. Yeah, Dokkan Battle, like a lot of these, especially older gachas, if they ever actually put more effort in, then they would be held to a higher standard. So why would you ever want to be held to a higher standard where you have to do more when you could do the absolute minimum and people will be fine with that anyways? It just makes sense.
You could see this when both HSR and ZZZ released. HSR released on April 26th of 2023. What was going on in Genshin at the time, you might ask? Version 3.6, where they were running rerun banners. While reruns are nice, it's pretty undeniable to say that they don't sell super well, nor do they make the vast majority of the community super excited to log in and play. Apart from those reruns, we did actually have a small region release to explore, but not only was its entire purpose to put a bow on the Sumeru Desert exploration, but it was also the third desert region released in a row, resulting in not that many people being actually super excited for it. In other words, it was basically a major filler patch where people were looking for something else.
Look, I'm gonna be honest, I think deserts are the most boring zones in any game in history. I've never been like, dude, this desert is so cool. This has never happened to me, I'm gonna be real. I just think it's a cursed landscape in any game I've ever played. I'm just like, oh boy, there's a lot of sand. Oh man, there's a lot of it, and everything is yellow. This is really great. I've never liked
So what did Hoyoverse ever so generously offer for players to do instead? Play their new game, of course, Honkai Star Rail, a new and exciting space fantasy RPG where everything is new and fresh and exciting.
Remember when everyone thought this game wasn't going to be good at all or do well?
Exploring for the past
people
6
said they should redo
months.
the combat to be
This
Genshin.
then repeated in Honkai Star Rail when Hoyoverse's next game launched, Zenless Zone Zero. ZZZ released on July 4th of 2024. What was going on in HSR at the time? The end of 2.3, where there was absolutely nothing to do after you pulled Firefly and did a tiny bit of story. I remember that patch vividly, because for 4 weeks straight after finishing that story, the only thing I had to do in that game was log in, spend my daily stamina, and then Alt F4 the game. It says something when that patch had 5 events total, 2 of which were freebie rewards, and 2 of which were simply events, where you got double the amount of resources for spending your stamina. So, since there was absolutely nothing going on in HSR, what could you do? Once again, Hoyo ever so generously swooped in and launched their new game, Zenless Zone Zero. Everything that Hoyoverse does has a cost. While it may seem like things are getting better, it usually ends up worse soon after. And that's the cost that we as the players of their games feel. Whether it's for rewards, simple quality of life features, or game releases, they always try to screw us in some way, and it's for one reason. Hoyoverse doesn't see us as anything more than a walking wallet.
What are you?
Alright, congrats. You've either made it this far in the video, or you
long
just
game
skipped directly to the
failed.
section, so
Did it though?
welcome in if you did that. Apologies if I get a bit heated in this section, but this is something important to me.
It's getting heated,
also
okay.
Something that I'm just passionate about. Over the years, it's become obvious that Hoyo is only interested in their long con. Their goal isn't to create a good experience, it's just to make it feel like what we're getting is actually worth something. They go out of their way to get as many people as possible to play their games, and then structure the first few patches of them to secure us as loyal customers.
Why can't people that play these games admit they're playing a garbage game and spit about gambling and collecting pixels? I mean, okay, here's the thing. Gacha at its heart is evil and bad, and we all know this. So all gacha games are instantly tainted without even anything else, without any other facet. But just because they are tainted by that doesn't mean it can't be a decent game or enjoyable. But I think the real problem comes down to people making it their entire personality and feeling like they have to defend the game that they play because for some reason part of their personality or them as a human is tied to it. And so if you're insulting the game, then you're insulting the person's, I guess, their taste, who they are. I don't know. You're essentially insulting them by insulting the games. They take it personally for some reason, because for some reason people are unable to actually, you know, separate themselves from things that they like. And people trash things that I like all the time and vice versa. I mean, people in my chat, you guys know. I trash a lot of things. People just say I'll take, but like then you just move on, right? So what if you disagree with what somebody says or someone trashes your game? It's like, who cares? That shouldn't matter. That shouldn't change your enjoyment of the game. But I think the issue is there's too many people where it does change their enjoyment of the game. If people trash talk the game, they go, oh, you're calling the game stupid? What, so I'm stupid because I like the game? Oh, because I like it? That what, my taste is bad, so I'm dumb? Like, that's how people seem to take it in a weird way, and it doesn't make sense.
After that point,
This
they just
is
want to keep
not
us
just
in a
with
revolving
games.
door throughout their
This is
variety
anything.
of
Look at
games.
K-pop
If you don't have
community.
anything to do
Look
in
at
one
Boruto.
game, you can be sure the others will have stuff going on
Any
to spend your
big
time
community
and, more
has people like
importantly,
this. They're
your money
insane.
in.
They're
I mean,
crazy
who
people.
needs real content when the next limited character can be shoved down their throat every other week across all their games? Like,
you know, this is a good point he brings up too. So many people seem to think content equals new characters. I'm gonna be real, guys. If you remove new characters from a patch, what the hell is there in so many gachas? So you're telling me the content is I have to pay, usually, not always, but like a lot of the time you have to pay for characters, and that's the content? I would rather just buy a DLC for a game. May as well buy Shadow of the Erd Tree. Get a whole ass like second game basically there for that money. Instead, I have to buy a character that I'm gonna get bored of in however much amount of time, or maybe they're lame. Like that's the content. It's just kind of pathetic, right? Look at Path of Exile. Every 3 months they come out with their content is, oh, I guess I'm gonna play for, 300 hours. That's their content, right? Is let me go play for 300 hours with all these new things to do and all these changes to skills and items and classes and stuff. Oh, that's what I'm gonna do. That's my update, is a free thing. You do that. Meanwhile, gacha games are like, all right, guys, here's your update. Give me money. Come on, give me money, or you're not really getting anything this update if you're not paying. That's how it feels.
everything I've talked about in this video is
Not a good
evidence that
feeling.
showcases Hoyo doesn't really give a shit about us. They're just interested in whatever they can get out of our pockets for the lowest possible amount of effort from them. And what that means is that whatever we get from them is basically just the leftover scraps off their dinner table. Hoyo knows that we're willing to overlook things like the missing quality of life, the lack of real content, and the
Yep.
insane amount of time it takes to fix any problems the games have if they stuff us full of rewards early on and try to.
What if you can guarantee a character every patch? You know what? That's true. If you could guarantee a character every patch, then that does defeat that argument. But here's the thing. What if you don't like the character? Then I guess the whole update just sucks. But I guess you could say, what if you don't like the update for a different game? Then I guess it sucks too. But I don't know. It's just a very cheap way of making an update for people to get excited about, is you just add characters that people gotcha for, right?
Essentially love bomb us whenever
It's just
we get
kind of
upset.
crazy, right?
By the time the excitement of a new game release wears off and all we've got is the leftover garbage, they can get away with doing the bare minimum, but by that point, their hope is that we're in way too deep to notice. Unfortunately for Hoyo, their con is very, very noticeable at this point. The small bits of quality of life and the generosity that they try to feed us just doesn't cut it anymore. The revolving door is getting old at this point. The lack of quality of life is getting old at this point. Our characters standing in a circle for
Yeah, basic
90% of the
things.
story in their games is getting old at this point. The complete and utter disregard for the community's wants and needs is especially getting old. And that's not even mentioning their blatant and prominent greed that is showcased across all of their games except for ZZZ for now.
For
And
now,
I
yeah.
specify for now because the fun times that these games have are only temporary. It's a
Yeah, it
matter
won't
of
last.
time before their next
When
game
their next game
launches, and
comes
by
out.
that point,
Yeah.
it'll be ZZZ on the chopping block. It is just such a shame that this company is using this awful business model and these terrible practices to make things worse and worse and worse as time goes on.
Everyone likes to eat
Because
it
if you
up.
look past the bullshit that Hoyo pulls to try to keep us invested in their games, there's actually some good stuff underneath. But it just doesn't matter when you have to look past the hundreds of problems that these games
There's
have
good
just to
stuff in
see
their
it.
games, but they
Like,
just...
I love these games.
It's
I have
only about
logged into
money.
Genshin every single day
Holy
since that game
crap.
launched. I did the same for HSR and ZZZ too. I've been a loyal player because for a long time it
Oh my-
felt worth it to
that's a
me.
lot.
But I just can't feel that way anymore with the current state of their games. Honestly, they never really did enough to deserve our loyalty to begin with, which is why.
Yeah, you know, somebody in chat just said, do you think gacha's overhated even though all of them are live service games when there's games with loot boxes that keep being re-released? I do not think gachas are overhated. I think other games are underhated. I think that more games should be hated for their business practices. I do not think gachas are overhated at all. I think everyone should still have those opinions. I just think people should be starting to hate more games. Like, look at games like FIFA and crap. That's gacha, dude. And it's a piece of trash. All this live service crap you see everywhere in all these games. World of Warcraft, it's like, okay, you gotta pay for the game, you gotta pay for the expansion, you gotta pay for the subscription, you gotta pay for the cash shop. All these games doing all this stuff, trying to nickel and dime you on every single thing. It's unacceptable. That's why indie game devs rocks so hard, because they're literally just some dude in a garage on a shoestring budget making a damn good game, and then they make millions off of it, and they deserve it because they make a good game with their clear vision trying to do something genuine rather than just some trash with a million different microtransactions and other garbage. That's just how it is. It's so much more respectable to see something like that than a lot of these AAA games that come out nowadays. That's just the way it works.
It's so important that we both recognize and speak up about these terrible practices that Hoyo follows. If we don't advocate for these games and this company to be better, then all we'll have is whatever bait Hoyo dangles in front of us to keep us here. If we stay in the
Bro, I just want to say, this guy looks like the old guy from Ajin. Am I crazy? The old guy with the shotgun? Just random off-topic thing. Totally looks like that guy. 100%, just saying. Pretty sure it's just this guy. Maybe he just moves stories, man. He's retired now. Yeah, Sato, pretty sure it's him.
Revolving door, it won't matter when players quit one of their games because they'll have the next piece of bait ready. From Genshin to HSR, from HSR to ZZZ. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me a third time, and I'll make an entire YouTube channel to complain about your company.
Damn, he really did make a whole YouTube channel to complain about.
I just want to say thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. This video took a hell of a lot of work, so if you liked it, I'd greatly appreciate you dropping a sub and maybe giving my other videos a shot too.
I actually think this was a great video. I think there's more things he could have touched on, but at the same time, he didn't really need to for what he was saying. I think he needs to not use Giguk's intro because, you know what I mean? Like, it's a good intro, but also it's just literally Giguk's, you know what I mean? It would be like if you just copied Keemstar's opening, you're like, what is up, everybody? You know what I mean? It's like, if someone would see that and be like, hold up, wait, I've seen this before, you know what I mean? If it works, it works. No, I mean, hey, no, I think this was a good video. I think it was edited really well. I think his voice is really good for the video as well. All around, really solid video. Also, it didn't really, like, he did a very good job as well of not making it sound like some over-biased hit piece exactly, but more of a much more realistic way of looking at things, which I think is important as well, because it's hard to take things seriously when everyone always talks about things just in such a ridiculously biased way. I actually think he should have started this video immediately by showing how much he's logged into Genshin and Honkai Star Rail and ZZZ. I actually think he should have immediately started with that so that nobody can discredit him. Yeah, no, I think it was a pretty solid video though. I thought it was good.